Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Chair League. I'm your host, Jason, and I am joined today by my good friend and co-captain here in all things Reborn Knights. It is the Pie Maker. How's it going, Kyle? Thank you for joining me tonight.
It's going quite well. How's it going?
Oh, going really good. This has been a good start to the night.
Wow.
Being completely throttled in Chair League, but at least we get to drop back and cast one, so that'll be a good time.
It is easier being in the casting seat.
That's for sure. We get to watch everyone else mess up for a change. We got
they
an
knew
excellent...
right off the bat what they wanted taken out of this draft. Like, these bans are coming quickly.
Yeah, Lizard Wizards deciding right off the bat they don't want to see or have anything to do with Genji. Stukov band coming out from Stranger Mings. By the way, let's introduce our teams tonight from Division 2. Stranger Mings is going to be your blue team on the left. Lizard Wizards going to be your red team on the right. And Nubarak going to be picked up immediately here by Lizard Wizards. Keeping strong in the meta, taking one of the best tanks so far, despite some nerfs recently this week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see how they approach the new meta. I mean, clearly right off the bat, they don't even want to deal with the Stukov. Kind of getting the, pretty classic new OP hero ban treatment. But, it's interesting. I haven't seen him first banned and given that priority yet. So I wonder if they've seen something that kind of makes them think that he's worthy of that first ban, or if he's going to counter something that they want really badly.
Meanwhile, we do see the side of Stranger Mings instantly coming out here with the Tassadar and Vala. So they're looking to go directly towards the Trinity. We'll have to see how Lizard Wizards wants to counter this. So they're going to take away Ariel, probably one of the strongest elements of that Trinity, and they're going to take Gul'dan, so they have a good hope generator. Strong counter draft here coming out from Lizard Wizards so far.
Yeah, I really like that 2-3. I mean, not only the denial, but then, a lot of times teams will have issues of how to prioritize denying the other team something that will really empower them while also, not wrecking your own team composition. So, to both successfully get a denial while really still empowering what you're doing is quite nice. It'll be interesting. So right now, with the Trinity, it's a really strong push comp, and one of the new metas we're seeing, which I'm sure you're quite familiar with now, is kind of the split push during the first shrine phase, kind of just ignoring it, assuming you're going to get more value by split pushing, and nothing does it better than the Trinity, I think.
Absolutely, they are able to put a lot of pressure into one lane, and Zeratul actually going to be the ban out here from Stranger Mings, and I like the Uther ban quite a lot. They've taken Ariel, they've now denied the Uther, so the Tassadar being the only real strong part of that Trinity that they can really build here. So they're not left with a lot of strong healers in this meta for Vala. Stukov also banned out, so really the only things you have left for super strong healing is Morales.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to... You don't really want to Rhaegar into the Gul'dan. I mean, you certainly can, and Rhaegar tends to synergize with a hypercarry Vala sometimes, but it's really hard. You're going to lose the mana efficiency battle there if you go Rhaegar into the Gul'dan. Malphus kind of nice, but heals over time into a hypercarry is hard. So they do go the Rhaegar, which I think ultimately they had to do, but it is, it's difficult. They're going to have, mana issues throughout, but ultimately you cannot let your hypercarry get bursted down, so that really kind of empowers that.
Yeah, definitely one of the strongest healers remaining in the meta. Also worth noting, Rhaegar can be very impactful on this map in particular with that lightning bond at 1 to have the extra wave clear on the shrine. Wave clear a premium here on Infernal Shrines, and with both of those picks, Arthas and Rhaegar, they do get a little bit stronger in the wave clear department. Tassadar also solid wave clear, but no one does it quite as well as Gul'dan. So I would say that Lizard Wizards still has that advantage here, but we'll have to see what they want to prioritize in these last two picks to try and secure that wave clear advantage.
You know, it'd be kind of hard. You know,
Speaking of wave clear.
Oh wow, yeah, that'll do it. That gives them a lot of, you know, they kind of dictate the flow of battle now within the shrine, because you know you pop that ultimate and their team has to snap decide, are we going into the team or are we going away from the team. You know, sometimes that can backfire. You can see a diva pop an ult and they're like, okay, we're hard engaging, and if you're not ready for that, that can be problematic, but that certainly provides them quite the wave clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Diva, all about point control here on shrines, being able to put that self-destruct in the shrine area to be able to get a full clear on any minions left inside, and being able to, like you said, to zone out the enemy team, force them into possibly making bad or split decisions. Thrall, also a very good solo laner, so they thought ahead that they wanted to make sure they had somebody in the solo lane, and Thrall, one of the strongest ones in the game, even after his rework. Right now looking to possibly go against Arthas or Tassadar, but we may see Stranger Mings get a solo laner. And they are going to go to the Malthael. Malthael actually sliding his way all the way down to pick number 10 here in this pick ban phase. Something we don't normally see for Malthael, even after his nerfs. But interesting comp coming out here from Stranger Mings. They have a lot of frontline presence. They do have really good support for that Malthael in the Rhaegar Ancestral and the Tassadar shields. So we'll have to see if he's able to cause enough mischief on the back line of Lizard Wizards to really get value here.
You know, it'd be interesting. You know, the whole time I was talking about this hyper carry Vala, but around mid-game, that team is going to change into kind of a hyper carry Malthael, because you know Malthael's a little hard to operate early game, just because you know his just heals aren't enough sustain. I mean, he still can certainly do some damage if given the opportunity, but late game he really turns on. Come level 16, I mean this comp turns into the Malthael show instead of the Vala show, and they have, like you just mentioned, perfect healers for that. So it's kind of an interesting final pick into this, that I wasn't expecting, and I kind of really like.
Yeah, I definitely like where they went with that, but we are loading in here onto Infernal Shrines. First week of Chair League, Thursday night Chair League. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We are going to introduce these two teams. First, on the left, we do have Stranger Mings. Let me actually see what's going on with my scoreboard here. There we go. That ought to do it. Stranger Mings on the left is your blue team. Destocerus is going to be playing the Tassadar. Beef Muffin on the Vala. Rogue Nerd, your team captain, is going to be playing the Rhaegar. Jinxie Cat is going to be on the Arthas, and Dark Storm on the Malthael.
And on the right, we've got Lizard Wizards with Aiden on the Thrall, Jono on the Gul'dan, Vyvance on the Anubarex, Salinity on the Diva, and then we've got Kyberries on the Ariel.
Salinity on the Diva, definitely fitting such a popular streamer here in the world of Heroes of the Storm. But we do see right away a very strong clear here in the mid by Team Lizard Wizards. They are immediately going to start rotating down to that bottom lane. Dark Storm's going to have to be careful. He is going to be caught out here a little bit by Vyvance. The stuns come down, and they are going after him. He does teleport to try to dodge, and he gets out somehow with that Malthael sustain, the magic that guy can bring to be able to keep himself alive, Kyle.
And that's important because, one of the last things you want to give up to a 1-4 composition is ganks. Especially in your solo lane, because that puts you in a really weak position. They really kind of ramp up. 1-4 really wants to put heavy pressure on the other towers. They want to find gank potential. So it was really important for them not to lose that gank there.
Yeah, right now, I think the time to decide of Stranger Mings, they've pretty much decided here that they can't really function against this 4-man rotate. So instead, they're just splitting it out. They're pushing out into the lane when the 4-man's not there. And then they are doing what they can to try and get safe behind towers. Darkstorm, recognizing that this is coming in, goes ahead and backs up to be safe behind his own towers. And They're not losing any of the soak. They're just playing safe. They know that they're a later game team and that their time will come to contest here on the shrine.
Right, and I like that. I mean, that's kind of smart play. You don't want to, go into a 4-man rotation you can't keep up with.
We do have the full 10-man collapse into this shrine right away. The side of Lizard Wizards doing a nice job of zoning them out, but Stranger Mings trying to start to push into this as level 4 has been achieved by Lizard Wizards. Double root coming out from Aiton there, and Vivance diving in deep and is actually going to start walking his way on out of here. Does get rooted there by Jinxacat, who gets a lot of poke in return there. Right now, the side of Lizard Wizards just seeming so healthy, whereas the side of Stranger Mings are getting chunked for their lives, and that's going to give a nice advantage here on this shrine to Lizard Wizards. So far in the count, it looks like this is going to end up being their Punisher here in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, this Gul'dan Aerial Battery is out healing a double healer right now, and Gul'dan is just laying down so much damage in there. I mean, with how they have to position within the shrines, he's able to land, a lot of his echoes, and and with the protection he has with his team, the heavy kind of frontline CC that they've got going on, he's able to get close enough to really start building up his Q stacks as well, which is really nice.
And right away, we see the mid Punisher going ahead and getting in on this fort. A nice 3-man rotation here. Both teams sending one out to each lane to go ahead and soak the side lanes so that they can keep up on trying to get closer and closer to that level 10. 7 is actually going to be the next tier, but both teams looking for 10 for this next shrine phase to be able to get a leg up for the next Punisher, which is really where the game can start to snowball a little bit, as these early Punishers not very strong.
So I'm going to be interested to see how Frostwolf Pack goes for Aiton, because you've seen this a lot in HCC. It's a really difficult talent to kind of get off. You essentially have to hit 7 Frostwolves consecutively. You can't miss one. You can't die, and even in HCC, premier players like Equinox are not consistently every time completing that quest. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs with that quest.
Yeah, definitely a skill shot that's he's gonna be able to try to build that up later throughout the game. But in the solo lane right now, he's gonna have a whole lot of value, especially against a Tassadar who can just immune his way on out of a lot of those dueling situations. But maybe later game we see an interesting cap here from the side of Stranger Mings as they go ahead and get that camp in the top lane. That's going to be pretty easily cleared out, but they do go ahead and come in on the engage. Selenity actually in a lot of trouble here. Jinxacat trying to get in, but she gets back into the mech in time, and now Jinxacat's the one on the run on that Arthas, gets stunned. It's kind of a late cleanse there from Rogue Nerd, but we'll be able to give him at least an extra step to get out. But that's going to be the mid fort going over to the side of Lizard Wizards as they are well on their way to 10, but the shrine is up in the top lane at this point.
Yeah, and that turn happened pretty quickly. And one nice thing about how kind of beefy this composition is for Lizard Wizards is it really gives Gul'dan the chance to kind of get up there. His most powerful kit is when he goes the Q build, but it's also the most vulnerable. So to have a composition like this. Speaking of Thrall's W build, by the way, he's already completed that. I should know.
And here we go. The team fight is on here in the top shrine area. Aiton getting very, very low here. Ton of damage coming out from that Malthael. The double root coming out, and all of a sudden, Lizard Wizards are going to have to back up and get out of this one. Very healthy Vala in that front lane, getting the Tassadar shields, able to go in deep to get a lot of damage out, and they're going to be able to turn and start to get a huge advantage on this shrine.
Yeah, I mean, between Malthael's trait, blanketing the team, and W build Vala, they just drained the entire life pools of the Lizard Wizards.
But speaking of draining the health away, all of a sudden Lizard Wizards are back here with a vengeance, getting 2 picks here First getting the Rhaegar, then they turn and take out the Vala, the main carry here in the early game. They're even going to take Malthael out. Vivant's actually going up to get the body blocks on Jinxie Cat. He's not going to be able to get away. Vivant's even lives 3 for nothing here for the side of Lizard Wizards, but they got to get clearing this quick because the side they only need 6 over for the side of Stranger Mings. But I don't even know if they're going to try to come up and contest this here, Kyle.
It doesn't look like they're going to. They're probably too scared of the level 10, which will be interesting. I mean, the quicker they get it, the better. Because now it'll be interesting to see what they can do with the level 10 advantage, the Punisher. Malthield's not even here on the defense. So they really, with 5-man investment, want to get a lot of value here.
And that is exactly what we're seeing out of Lizard Wizards here. 5-man investment, like you said, to try and get some extra picks here. Nice 3-man route from Jinxie Cat, trying to get the zoning, but the Punisher getting involved here. The Horrify to be able to zone out Rhaegar, and he goes down. And all of a sudden, Lizard Wizards getting a huge advantage. They also have somebody in that cocoon. It is going to be Tassadar, so he should be able to try to escape, but doesn't have enough mana to actually phase shift out. And that's going to be 2 more picks, 6-0 so far for Lizard Wizards, as they have definitely controlled the early game here.
Yeah, they've definitely been getting those kind of just the aggression off of them, which is, kind of surprising. Usually I'm used to seeing, they're flanking right now.
A huge rotation yet again, gonna force them off of this camp. They're gonna be able to end up stealing from here. Solenity still sitting back here with the self-destruct ready to zone, and it looks like she might be positioning to try and throw it down in these chokeholds. And but they are gonna get the camp, and actually we do see the counter engagement here. Sindragosa comes out, but Solenity does go ahead and drop that self-destruct. It is going to zone everybody out and give them an easy escape here. And as they're well on their way to level 13, they got the camp. They didn't need to fight that.
Yeah, and that was a heavy investment by Stranger Mings into that fight. They busted 3 ults, 2 of which are pretty high cooldown. They have the Archon, they have the Sindragosa, they went the Strafe. Meanwhile, Lizard Wizards during this entire time will have 5 ults up, which means they have control over all of the future team fights. They can dictate what they want to do. And so, this is a time point where now Lizard Wizards wants to take advantage of, that advantage. Because basically, they have a level 10 flip almost because they have a heroic advantage over the opposing team right now.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. That was a pretty big misplay over on the side of Stranger Mings, popping those cooldowns so far after the Shrine phase. They are now a full 30 seconds from having Sindragosa, 35 from having Archon. They really can't contest this. Not to mention they're also down to 13. This is pretty much a free Shrine for Lizard Wizards if they decide they want to go on it, and here they are getting started.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they went to Sindragosa. It could be because they're looking for the CC, but typically I always think of the Sindragosa as like an early game win more kind of thing, while they have more of a late game comp.
They are going to go ahead and engage this. Archon not quite up yet, but they are getting a lot of value out of Strafe. They do web wrap the Malthael to be able to prevent a lot of his ult, but they get the Anubarak pick. Solenity also getting very low here. Doesn't quite have the self-destruct, so can't quite spend that on her mech, and they are starting to lose a lot of the advantage that they took. Solenity trying to get that charge. 1 minion not quite going to be enough to charge it up yet. Many of the members are very low here. Nice whip by Kaiberries there to be able to use that mid-shrine pole as a wall to whip into. And all of a sudden, Rogue Nerd very low on the back end, has to be careful here, positioning carefully, but the Arcane Punisher is going to come out as Lizard Wizards able to secure that. They still have the level 13 advantage, and they're going to look to push this. The jump in onto Tassadar, he is able to phase shift out for the moment, but a ton of harass coming out from Jono. The shield going to be enough to save him for the moment, but he's going to be zoned out, and the Punisher is going to continue marching down the mid lane. Jumps over the wall to go after Malthael. As they take down this mid wall, they're going to get the front wall. I don't know if they're going to get a whole lot more out of this, but they do get a nice XP lead still here. They're about a level and a half ahead at this point, and they're well on their way to 16. As again, we see this is a good distance from another shrine phase. They should have enough time to get 16 before the shrine phase. That's going to be another shrine that is going to be hard for Stranger Mings to contest.
You know, that last shrine fight was interesting because, you know, it started off so bad for Lizard Wizards. They dropped the Cocoon and the Horrify on the same target, you know, this kind of anti-synergy that you hate to see from your ults. They lost to Nubarak really quickly, but then through, like, you know, just really careful positioning and, you know, dedication to the Gul'dan poke, they just were able to slowly, even down the Nubarak, whittle away the other team, get the shrine. It was like you were saying in the draft, you know, that no one can clear those shrines quite like the Gul'dan.
Yeah, a huge pick coming out there on Malthael. They go ahead and burn the Horrify to be able to get that. But another huge pick, a little bit more XP, and again, they're marching their way through 15. You know, and roughly 20, 30 seconds or so, we're going to hear that big bing to signal that we're going to have another shrine phase. And they've got all this camp split push. They're going to be looking to pressure the bottom fort so that no matter whether this spawns in top or bottom, I can definitely see this going on to a keep for the side of Lizard Wizards. So they are definitely keeping up a good solid pace throughout this game so far.
Yeah, and, you know, the story of this next shrine is going to be that Lizard Wizards very likely is going to hit 16 by the time the shrine pops. You know, one unfortunate thing was they had a huge wave hit their top fort, where that soak would have, you know, been quite nice. But I think the investment in the camps and the timing of it and everything was worth it, especially with the 16 flip. They clearly didn't need the experience to reach 16 in time for the shrine phase.
Right, it just allows them, I think, to focus a lot more on this shrine and not have to worry about Stranger Mings, you know, going out and getting those camps. It gives them less to do in the downtime since they can't contest the shrine. I really like that call from the side of Lizard Wizards.
Yeah.
They are going to go ahead and put
because
3 in the top lane, though, to try and pressure this top fort. They're trying to get something. They even burn the Syndragosa to be able to really go in deep onto this fort. But the Mortar Punisher has been picked up in the bot lane. Lizard Wizards is going to pretty much pick up this bottom fort for free, probably not even having to sacrifice all that much health off the Punisher. And they are going to end up marching this straight towards the keep. But the one redeeming quality here for the side of Stranger Mings is that they do have 16 for the defense of this bottom keep.
And I like what Aiden's doing. He's just down here, you know, poking away, preventing the bees from them to defend. You know, I like what they did with the keep, or the fort, going up, taking it, trying to get 16 because they didn't want to defend down the 16 because it's not the 10 or 20 flip, but it is a very impactful talent tier. So I can appreciate that. I wonder about the investment of the ult when you know you're going to have a defense at the keep. They obviously defended it fine, but sometimes, you know, when you're going to go into what is likely to be a heavy engagement, you know, you'd like to know that those are online. But ultimately, it got them that fort quick enough for them to come back. So it might have been, you know, value in the end.
Yeah, I actually think that's a huge moment for Stranger Mings. First of all, huge props to Beef Muffin there for getting that pick off in the top lane. Finally, it had enough of Thrall's shenanigans and decides to turn around and go ahead and kill him so he can complete the B. But very nice defense from the 4-man of Stranger Mings to be able to keep that keep safe down there, but also getting some nice value from their camp. And they are looking for somebody to step out, but Vyvanse with a very nice scouting spikes there to be able to sniff out the gank attempt. And now they should be able to turn around and pick up this camp for free to de-push that top lane. Meanwhile, we will see Stranger Mings rotate out, and they're going to get started on these bottom camps.
Yeah. You know, it's going to be interesting how this game goes now. I mean, it's obviously felt like it's been in the Lizard Wizards' favor this whole time. You know, save for the... but yeah, pretty much it's felt like it's been kind of their game so far. But, you know, now Mouthfeel has hit 16. and Memento Mori is an extraordinarily good talent for what he does.
And here comes the engage from Lizard Wizards. Solemnity does manage to get out that huge self-destruct. They actually get the pick off on Arthas to start this off, but so many members low here. We do see Malthael getting that value, and Aiden is going to end up going down to Beef Muffin, but the return kills are here, as it ends up being a 1-for-3 exchange for Lizard Wizards. Yet again, winning a really big team fight right before the Shrine phase comes out. That's going to end up being another free Punisher for the side of Lizard Wizards, as they're just going to back up, tap the wells, heal themselves up here, and they're going to go right on that Shrine.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really exactly how you want to time it. You essentially, in an ideal situation, would love to assure yourself that Shrine before the Shrine even pops. Like, give yourself that man advantage, get the kills in. It was really scary almost there for a little while for Lizard Wizards because they had 4 people, all of whom were just on the verge of death, and they just barely held in there and sustained through it. So it's impressive, their ability to balance, getting in the attacks and not dying.
Yeah, that's kind of the struggle with a solo heal Ariel. Solo healing in this game has become a lot harder because of a lot of the burst damage, but you look over at the side of Stranger Mings and they don't have really any burst damage. They have all, damage over time. Vala being their most bursty character means that they really can't chunk through any of the sustaining heroes on the side of Lizard Wizards. Even Gul'dan, their mage, does have some self-sustain built into his kit, so they picked a very good comp here to be able to sustain through these team fights, but they can't panic just because they have sort of low health, because eventually Kyberries is going to be able to bring that back. Meanwhile, they did pick up this Punisher, and they are pushing into the mid lane, looking for this mid keep. They do bait it upwards a little bit, but not quite far enough, as this Punisher is going to turn around and beat down this core, and they still have 43% with the core. Does Lizard Wizards want to try and get anything else? They have 20, but the 5-man root with the follow-up of that Syndragosa, a thing of beauty here from Jinxie Kaz, but can they capitalize on it? I think the consensus is no, with that Earthquake to zone away, but still got to give huge props to that 5-man combo there just from Arthas.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very solid disengage. You have to give props to Lizard Wizards for that, because Stranger Mings, had a fantastic turn on them, and it looked like it could have gotten really bad very quickly there. So fortunately, the nice thing for Stranger Mings is we were talking about their late game comp, and they're just about to hit level 20. So unfortunately, it was with a keep down, but the fact that they've made it this deep into the game with having only lost a keep means that this still very much is a game and can go either way. The question will be where their mentality is. It's sometimes hard when you're getting, you're losing the majority of team fights throughout a game to kind of regroup and take on that, we've got this game mentality. But, looking at their comp, they've got a really strong possibility here now.
Yeah, I agree. Stranger Mings have been playing from the back foot all game long, but I think, we talked about it right from the onset that this is a late game comp. This is a late game team comp for them. So they have to just stay calm, keep playing the game. They're gonna eventually find the opportunity to take a good team fight here now that they are on even talent tiers once again. Level 20s are here. Their team comp is never going to be stronger at any point in the game than it is right now. Unfortunately, they don't get the favorable spawn. They had the top fort down, but the Punisher is going to go ahead and decide to spawn in the bottom. And Solemnity is going to be the one to walk into this bush on Arthas. Not exactly the hero you want to try and gank out. Right away, the Ancestral coming out to have to save Arthas, but we do see he's still getting very, very low here. Does get the shields out from that Storm Shield at 20, but he is the first to fall. Many of the members getting very low here, but Aiden also getting very low. The poison on him is just barely not going to be enough. Also just barely sidestepping there, but the big story, 3 for nothing make that 4-0 as he tries to port back to try and get the trade on Aiton, and all of a sudden, Lizard Wizards sitting here with 5 members in this top lane, and the camp is pushing. They don't even care that the shrine is up. Beef Muffin also going to be in trouble. That's going to be a full team wipe, and the side of Lizard Wizards just going to march right past the keep onto the core, and this is going to be game 1 here on Infernal Shrines, going over to the Lizard Wizards.
I'm surprised Malthael is holding his final talent. He could pop out of the heart that he wanted to, but that is indeed a game. That was a very well executed game from Lizard Wizards, just playing to exactly what their comp does, kind of, sustain, poke, get damage on the entirety of their team. And it was like we were talking about at the very beginning of the draft. The Rhaegar is just going to have a nearly impossible time keeping up with this kind of spread, sustained damage that Gul'dan was able to get down. And, in the end, each team fight kind of extended for so long. That was another problem, too, kind of going into it. It's like you've got this inability to keep up healing-wise with sustained damage, but then also what your team comp does is sustained fight. You've got the Vala and the Malthael. They're kind of... Malthael's great trait doesn't kick in until 4 seconds within the, into the team fight kind of thing. So, or level 16 talent. It was kind of a difficult situation to overcome, I think, draft-wise, just based off of how the support choke kind of went down.
Absolutely. I felt like a lot of the problem came in with the early draft. They were trying to build it into the Vala, but it got shut down pretty well by the side of Lizard Wizards in the early draft, and so they weren't really able to build off the Vala. I think individually, Stranger Mings played really well in that game. We saw a lot of individual flair, but I don't think they had the team comp that was really well equipped to come together and fight as a strong 5-man squad. Whereas that's all that Lizard Wizards have in their comp, is that they can collapse really, really well, focus one target, get the CC and isolations on these guys, and be able to get those picks that they desperately needed to be able to turn those team fights. Because eventually, the double support does win out in long, sustained team fights, and they have good, solid spread damage to be able to do that. But they can't focus somebody down. They couldn't focus somebody down like the Lizard Wizards could in that match.
Yeah. Well, and Lizard Wizards were just so synergized and coordinated with everything they were running. Save for just like a couple like anti-synergy ults where like a Horrify would go down during another ult that kind of counteracted it, those kinds of things. That happened like a couple times. The rest of the game, like it was just so well synergized, their play, the way they would dive in. There's another kind of aspect to this, running this kind of hyper carry comp into an Anubarak. Cocoon has been nerfed, but Cocoon is still so powerful. And they're at the end, that last team fight they lost. Malthael, popped his ultimate, looked like he was, ready to start, really dishing out some damage, and then he got cocooned, and there goes his ult, basically. And it's difficult to run kind of double support hyper carry comps into kind of the Anubarak cocoon, because it's so easy to just kind of negate their damage.
Yeah, well, and a lot of times when you're building towards the idea of that, that double support, you're looking into supporting one main carry, and the rest of the team is kind of focused on really building that hyper carry. I do think that it didn't serve the side of Stranger Mings that they had 2 hyper carries in that comp, because Malthael can totally fall into that category, but he's not very good at helping somebody else carry a game. So that might be something that they want to look at adjusting for this game too, is trying to focus a little bit more on one strategy and not splitting it between 2.
Mm-hmm. I think it was like you're saying earlier. The good thing that's going for Stranger Mings is um, they did have a lot of solid play in there. A lot of, like you said, displays of solid individual skill. They can clearly play the heroes quite well. And so, let's see who picks this map. So it's the other team that picked this map. So, there's also the benefit of, I think right now first pick, first ban is extremely powerful.
Yes.
So I think that's going to also kind of really be hopefully a boost for them as well. And so they can kind of dictate the draft more towards their, kind of make it go more their way this time through that. Because, clearly their play was still quite good.
Yeah, it's an interesting way that Chair League organizes this, where one team automatically gets the map pick and the other team automatically gets the first pick, first ban. There's no real decision making involved in how that happens. Teams just have to react the way it is. There's no advantage or disadvantage, because at the end of the day, you get to swap after the second map at the very least. But it's all about who reacts to it better. You look at this format, and I agree with you that first pick is extremely powerful, but you're automatically playing on your opponent's map, and they picked it for a reason. They'll usually pick it because they had because you had some sort of strategy to go into it, or you thought it was a good map for you that you win a lot of the time. And in that match, that was the map pick of Stranger Mings, and Lizard Wizards just played really, really well on the map. You could tell that this team is really experienced, and they had a good game plan for it, because they were ahead going into pretty much every shrine phase. They took good fights and got good team wins, and I can't think of a single shrine phase that was really highly contested on even talent tiers. Sometimes Stranger Mings win in on it even though they were down talent tiers, but that's a really tough thing to have to fight into.
Yeah, they displayed a very good understanding of the map, when to take what advantage, when to kind of push for what objective.
But meanwhile, we are in here onto the second draft here. Sky Temple is going to be the map pick, as my cat just walks right past the mirror. Say hello to my kitten. But Stukov coming out right away. So, Lizard Wizards got to call the bluff here of Stranger Mings as they first ban that Genji. They go ahead and take the Anubarak out of the equation, and Stukov going to be appearing here on Sky Temple over on the side of Stranger Mings.
It's kind of fun watching drafts that are a part of a series, because you can kind of, metas develop within that draft. Oh, interesting, the double support. 3 supports picked as our first 3 picks, so that's the kind of the meta we're in right now. But, clearly Lizard Wizards has a very high priority on the. They, when they were first pick, they picked them. When they don't have first pick, they first banned them. Likewise, clearly Stranger Mings find Stukov to be extremely powerful, because when they don't have first pick, they ban them, and when they have first pick, they take them. So it's kind of interesting to see where both teams think of these heroes, especially after Stukov's brand new, and Nubarak is post draft. So I'm really excited to see what Stranger Ming's plans are with Stukov. He has such an interesting kit. There's so much utility in it. And, on top of that, he actually has a really high healing output. Like, he brings a lot of both, kind of sustain, but really surprising amounts of, team-wide burst heal. And, a pretty crazy impressive CC kit. He can silence. One hardship that double healer comps go into is when some kind of disrupt goes down that prevents both healers from healing, like a Twilight Dream or something onto a double healer or something. It really creates issues for the synergy of that comp. So it'll be kind of interesting to see that interplay between kind of the Stukov lurking arm into the, this clearly double healer um, well, I'm assuming hyper carry comp that Lizard Wizard's just going to pull out. I'm kind of interested who their hyper carries. You kind of seeing the Vala makes you kind of think maybe the maybe the Cassia or the Tracer.
Could also be the Malthael. You know, we saw Stranger Mings try to kind of dovetail their comp towards that direction after they already had the Vala, but Vala taken here, so they have to go with something. Cassia, like you said, I think is a pretty good option. They could try to go with something like a Lunara or a Zul'jin. You know, also pretty good hyper carries. But I agree with you. It's an interesting pick now that they've, you know, and the ban also coming out on Tracer, not wanting to worry about the Tracer TAS. But Stukov, yeah, I think I get what you mean there by, you know, Stukov having all these interesting things to his kit. We haven't really seen what a lot of the pro players, you know, what a lot of the biggest names in the game want to do with Stukov and the combos. But I think there is a lot of potential for good combos of things that already exist and things that haven't been around for a while. You know, Devouring Maw into Stukov Silence, VP with Stukov to follow it up, especially countering something like, you know, Tyrael Sanctification. There's a lot of things that have potential that we haven't quite seen out of him yet because he's just so new. We do see Li Ming and Diablo coming out, so you know, hyper carry may or may not be their last pick. But right now, you know, the Ming damage is going to be what they're looking for to start with. This can be a decent combo, I think, to Stukov in the damage department. He has good burst heals and good sustained heals, but the burst heals are on a pretty large cooldown. He can't pop that trait very often. So I think if Ming sees an opening where that's off of cooldown, her CDs come down enough where she might be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah. You know, going back to the ban, I just want to say I thought the Tracer brand was really great, considering there is very little Stukov can do, you know, save for just putting a lurking arm on the ground and making her walk through it to alleviate against the Tracer.
Well, except for pushing her all the way across the map after 10.
Well, there is that, which I would love to have seen. That would have been so fantastic. But Stukov, Ariel, this will be an interesting. I've always been kind of curious how this Trinity would work out. I mean, you've got
Kyle. I think you're missing the important thing here.
The
telekinesis into the silence. Come on, man. Alarak coming out here.
This is an intense amount of silence they've got going on.
They're looking to make the Lizard Wizard shut up a little bit in this match with all that silence over there. We'll have to see if they're able to complete that. But I don't know.
One thing that's interesting, you know, I don't know how it will turn out, but you know, we've got a Diablo and an Uther into a cleanseless comp. I've only played Stukov a couple times, so I don't think he has any cleanses, if I'm correct. But
I think so.
You know, pretty much all they've got to kind of alleviate heavy CC, and now with the Sonya, even more CC, is, you know, an Ariel Aegis. So it'll kind of be interesting to see the interplay of kind of the you know, CC into a cleanseless comp. Wow, so double healer, double tank with the Li Ming damage. You know, kind of like a TAS Sonya was, you know, kind of an old school combo that worked really fantastic. And then, you know, I actually have seen GFE a while back run, you know, several kind of, you know, TAS, Uther, Mage comps, which seems weird. But the new TAS, despite having, you know, a lot of highlights into the auto attacks, and he likely will be shielding the Sonya, but he does still kind of synergize well just generally with carries.
Yeah, they have a lot of support for Sonya to be able to go in on the side of Lizard Wizard. So we'll have to see if they can get after Stukov. I think that's going to be a real key to this match, is between Diablo and Sonya being able to dive in on Stukov, who doesn't really have a whole lot of good escape or mobility. We'll have to see if that if that ends up being how they try to approach this match. Also, Uther being in the front line. But we are loading in here on to Sky Temple. Game number 2, a 1-0 lead so far for the Lizard Wizards. On the right, we do have Stranger Mings. Dark Storm going to be playing the Alarak. Beef Muffin on the Vala. Jinxie Cat going to be playing the Johanna. Dasaris is going to be playing Stukov, and Rogue Nerd on the Ariel.
On the right, we've got Lizard Wizards with Vivance on the Diablo, Aiden on the Sonya, Salinity on Li Ming, Jonah on the Tassadar, and Kaiberry on the Uther. Yet, what Lizard Wizards is going to have to do here is, I think they're going to have to rely a lot on the chain CCs. Mostly, I say that because their main DPS is rather reset dependent for kill potential. So like Li Ming really ramps up in her actual damage when she gets a kill and she gets the resets and the abilities start pouring out. However, she's going into a double healer composition, so it can be difficult, which is why I think that the chain CC has got to work, has got to be executed pretty well for them to be able to start to generate the damage they're going to need from the Li Ming to kind of keep up in these team fights.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be all about the focus, and they showed in that last match that they are very good at focus firing. Hero, thank you very much for the host, my friend. Welcome to anybody that else that's probably also coming over from a chair league match. Yeah, I mean, they've shown an incredible ability to focus fire, and that's what they're going to really need here to be able to get to proc the resets on Li Ming and really get the damage out, because she's the only true assassin on the team here. We'll have to see if they can really take advantage of that.
Well, unfortunately, it's like you said, they're clearly very well synergized. Li Ming is one of the best kind of like single target blow up mages. I mean, there's that classic combo of the Varian Ming. Meanwhile, speaking of ganks and blowing up targets, looks like Alarak up top is getting ganked as we speak.
Yeah, Darkstorm not quite able to turn the corner there, trying to get away from that top temple. Got maybe a little bit greedy as they had the mid completely taken. There was no way that they were going to lose anything there. So steps on that top one to steal a couple of those shots and ends up paying for it with his life. However, lots of value coming in here to the mid lane for the side of Stranger Mings, as they are going to be able to get a little bit of extra damage after that. And they're looking for the invade here also on to Aiden, who's working on their siege camp down here.
Yeah, so looking at Tassadar's talent up here, it definitely looks like the Sonya is going to be pretty much the primary target. If they were kind of going for kind of a mage shielding, they would have probably gone the armor talent on 4 for Tassadar, but they've upped the lifesteal even more with Kala's Embrace. And Sonya's going the Earthquake build, or not Earthquake, Whirlwind build, which is, sometimes a little difficult into a Joanna. And they've also got the Alarak, but ever since it got buffed a while ago, I guess, it's still always strong, assuming that their CC is relatively limited.
I was thinking Earthquake build, like the Crater at 20.
Yeah.
Like you're foreseeing their level 20 talent already. Like, how are you seeing this good? Foresee or Kyle over here, but
yeah, no. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, something feels wrong here.
Something's wrong. Well, we do see a nice split here by both teams, making sure to get plenty of soak in, almost even on XP at this point, as little advantages all over the map. A couple camps being toyed with here, as Aiden actually doing a nice job. Gonna time out this top camp to pretty much exactly where the timing's gonna be, and but the camp up top on the other side has also been taken. However, the invade is on. Lizard Wizard wants this And it's only Johanna. This is going to be a 3v2, and members are starting to collapse into here as the fight over this camp is starting to get real. Solenity on the back end taking a lot of harass from Beef Muffin, but does start to get the resets out and getting tons of value out of the dominance, as that's going to be a 4-for-0 exchange. As that is what they need, Kyle. They need to get that damage out, get Ming the resets, and they can take every advantage from there, as they now have both top camps getting ready to push in on this fort.
Yes, that's the last thing you want. That was a brilliant call by Lizard Wizards. First off, the aggression was really well timed, and after that first death, Ming just started popping off. Those resets were happening. They were laying damage all over the place, and Stranger Mings unfortunately had no way to keep up, and then not only took 4 kills for it, which is, bad enough experience-wise as it is, but then they lose the fort on the flip of the bottom temple, which normally you like to contest, but here they're going to have to give up as Lizard Wizard just going to have 10 any second now.
Yeah, they have 10. They're going to probably end up securing this bottom. They're definitely going to get the bottom fort from this temple, and they have a huge advantage going into the second half of this match here on Sky Temple.
I really kind of like this talent. The ultimate task took. He took the force wall. When the Archon got its crazy buff, this big massive damage to her, it was like everyone was doing that. But situations like that where they nearly do hit the volley kill are on the back of this very short cooldown, heavy CC when used. Look how short it is. It's already up again. They've already got the Joanna back. It's the extreme cooldown on the wall now makes it also an extremely powerful talent. So I'm happy to see people are kind of coming back to the wall. I'm not sure about the synergy. I don't know if Diablo can dive a person into the wall also.
It definitely can, yeah.
He can? Okay. Yeah, so I also like that because, Diablo's damage kit, kind of centers around getting those charges into walls, especially depending on if he goes Devastating Charge at 13. I kind of imagine he's going kind of a rather standard build we see where you go into that at 13. And so having, instantly a wall wherever you want it to charge them into is also fantastic. So I love the synergy that they've got there between those.
Yeah, it's the same kind of synergy that a lot of people will try and take from Ariel and Tassadar with being able to whip into the wall. So brilliant maneuver here by the side of Lizard Wizards, and yet again getting nice synergy out of their draft. They are going to be able to secure the final fort. The real premium here is siege damage. Zoning wall there, trying to get Kai Berries out of this situation, but the engage is on the 4-man APOC, and the turn is real as Lizard Wizards is going to get in here and get themselves 3 kills. Stukov trying to zone with Flailing Swipe. I actually didn't know the name of that ult. I mean, I thought everybody went with the pushing arm, but Lizard Wizards taking full advantage and starting to steamroll here, as now both of these temples are up yet again, winning the big team fights at exactly the right times to be able to take full advantage from them.
They knew right when to turn around on that. That was very unfortunate for Stranger Mings, and I'm sad not to see the pushing arm because that would have been a lot of fun to witness. But clearly we saw the Flailing Swipe value there, albeit a bit too late. I guess it's kind of a pseudo gust in certain situations, although they're going for a gank here. Although if there's someone that's going to be hard to gank, it's going to be the Diablo, but they're going to give it their best.
Yeah, we also call that a low-value gank, as Uther or Diablo, probably 2 of the lowest value ganks in the game, because Diablo does die and loses souls, but he's coming right back in. And all the while this is going on, both temples 100% capped, as Aiden, being very, very aggressive down here, actually gets silenced, is going to be drugged back in, gets the shield just in time from Tassadar, and the zoning wall So we see, Stukov goes down. Solemnity taking him down at the last second with just the very tip of that disintegration beam there. Holy cow, Lizard Wizards is just on the roll right now.
Yes, and you know, to go back to the Diablo talents there, he did end up going Devastating Charge. There was one benefit to their aggression in getting the Diablo, is that they did reset his souls, which is pretty big in terms of his like viability right now in team fights, because now he's got less health, his Devil's Due doesn't proc as much, he went Soul Shield, so I mean that feeds into kind of, you know, his whole kit, so that is very helpful that they've basically like weakened the hero for a time, but yeah, I mean ultimately they got no body advantage, they got no.
And the aggression is really real in here from the side of Lizard Wizards. I don't know about this call. I mean, I think that yeah, here they come. They do know that they have. This is probably their last opportunity for an even fight until they get 16. So we do see Stranger Mings coming in on this, but again, they turn around and start to blow them up. Alarak goes down. The ult from Stukov a little bit too late to zone them out, and yet again the aggression pays off for the side of Lizard Wizards. That's also going to give them 16 here as they successfully steal that camp, and now they're going to go ahead and push the mid lane off the heels of this big team fight win. And again, both Temple Shrines up. Everything going Lizard Wizards right now. They may even try to end here. Instead, they're going to turn around and get the bottom keep. But everything coming up Lizard Wizards right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a dire situation. 2 keeps down, 2 shrines up, 16 to 13. If they get both, I mean, even just a shrine, you know, is a keep right there. If they get both, you're getting heavy core shots. They have to take a fight that they can't really take. So we'll see what they do with this pressure. It's you know, it's a kind of desperate moment for them, unfortunately.
I do like this from the side of Stranger Mings. They know that many of the members of Lizard Wizards were low, so they do go ahead and 5-man rotate to be able to get some value off of this. I'm not sure if they want to take the team fight in full earnest. They don't see Jono in yet, but they do see the rotation in from Mir now, but now it's a little bit too late. They're going to have to make this an engage. The silence going down, getting a lot of value in the middle of this team fight. Both teams actually looking to start to disengage a little bit. Solemnity still trying to throw out the poke to be able to try to give them a position to go in on this. But still posturing is Stranger Mings, and they are going to re-engage this. Nice blink out there from Solemnity to be able to dodge the silence from Alarak. And right away, the APOC comes out, catching multiple members. The wall going to split Stranger Mings in half here, and the resets are on. That's going to be a full 5-man reset. And with those death timers and both these keeps down, that is probably going to spell the end of this one, Kyle.
Yeah, you know, it was like we were saying at the beginning. You know, if they can synergize their CC, you know, they definitely have a shot. And, you know, they did that. I mean, double healer cannot out-sustain when they're both standing there getting CC'd. And you definitely have enough damage when, you know, the team is just kind of getting thrown around by the opponent's composition. So it's definitely a well-played game there.
And a nice 2-0 series here by Lizard Wizards, starting off week 1 really strong. Got to give a lot of credit to Stranger Mings. They hung around in both of these games and were able to really give them a good run for their money in a lot of these team fight situations. I felt like they didn't play with quite the synergy that Lizard Wizards did. I think that was probably one of the biggest deciding factors. But overall, I feel like there's a lot of potential in what I've seen today also, though, from Stranger Mings. But Lizard Wizards just came in tonight and stole the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of it just when they start to get that focus down too, like, I think it's like you said, a lot of the synergy is about, you know, the target focus, identifying team fighting positions, and, you know, once they start to get that down, that'll be, you know, they clearly have a lot of skill and will be able to push forward. It was exciting to get to see some Stukov. I kind of like the Stukov heals, where he didn't really have to focus on his healing build that is pretty strong. He got to kind of go more into his lurking arm build, which I didn't get to look into too much. I'm unfortunately not very familiar with Stukov, so I would love to give more commentary on the Stukov since he's so new to kind of talk about it. But it was, it's kind of nice to free him up to go into focusing on his lurking arm. But, alas, it just kind of didn't come together in the end.
Yeah, and you look at well, I was gonna say you look at the numbers, but there I go and hit the leave button. So much for that. But we always see a lot of Stukov get really, really strong healing numbers. But I think he if there is one weakness that Stukov has, I feel like he suffers from the Lucio problem, which is that it's a little bit difficult to target exactly where your heals are going. It's actually a little easier with Stukov than it is with Lucio, but a lot of the best healers in the game are the ones that are able to get big chunk heals in exactly the right spots, and that can be a kind of a tough thing for Lucio and for Stukov when your opponent has good focus fire. They're able to just get that one person down, and especially in a comp that focuses mainly on Li Ming, you get that one pick off, and all of a sudden the team fight's going in a completely different direction than you want it to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got two AoE healers. Ariel is a burst healer, but she's really kind of a sustain burst, kind of like this hybrid healer, to where it's like, I mean, she's no Uther in terms of protecting against the single target burst. And Stukov certainly is pretty bad at protecting against a single target burst, because it's like you said, it's kind of hard to control where his pathogen goes. For him to get max value, you really want the pathogen to be there a little while before you pop the Bioshock or Biokill switch. And that's hard to do, especially when someone's getting just bursted. You've got to attempt to get the virus on them, bless that. It's difficult. Their only mitigation they had there was the Aegis, but when you have a single target blow up comp that's like what they had, I wouldn't call it a single target blow up comp, but they've got heavy CC and then a Li Ming who really puts single target heavy pressure. When you've got that, their composition and their damage is based on these low cooldown abilities, and so an Aegis as your one mitigation to that is difficult, because when the Aegis is down, their abilities are still there and they're still cycling, and so it only keeps you in it for so long before they can just throw you into a wall and burst you with a Li Ming combo.
Yeah, and having the double support behind that means that Lizard Wizards in that second game was able to stay in the game long enough to find that combo to last beyond that one Crystal Aegis stopgap they had for the damage coming in, and able to get in there and get the resets rolling. That was a really big factor, I think, to pretty much every team fight that they came across, even the ones that started off poorly. That one in the mid was not a good team fight on the onset for Lizard Wizards, but the turn was totally incredible. As soon as they were ready to go, as soon as they found that one spot that they could hit real hard, they were able to turn that around and end up with a huge team fight win off the heels of that. And I felt like that happened a few times in that series where they showed that they play really well as a 5-man squad in the way that they turned those fights around.
I was just about to say, how many times did we say tonight that turn? That is exactly what it highlights, their comfort, I think, with each other, and their comfort with what their compositions can do. They know exactly the moment where the team fight has become advantageous for them, and they, as 5, turn it, engage, and take a wipe. The easiest way to get a wipe is when an enemy team is coming into you, and usually an invading team wins, but when an enemy team is coming into you and then you take the invade to them is one of the easiest ways to get a wipe, because their momentum is all coming towards you, obviously. So, and they had very impactful turns. Most of the turns they got multiple kills, nearly a team wipe on one or two. And those were big turning moments too. A lot of those turns happened at pivotal moments in the game, and I think that really kind of told the story of what Lizard Wizards did tonight. It was when they got those big kills, it was during leading into major objective moments, like that turn to team wipe right before the double shrine. So that turn to get a number of kills right before a shrine popped up. They would find a way to get advantages here or there, and I think that really kind of also was a good example of their kind of understanding of where they were within the map macro as well.
Yeah, for sure. They displayed a lot of solid macro games. Some of those rotations, they made two particular rotations onto the left top bruiser camp of the side of Stranger Mings, and especially the first one was just an incredible turning point in that match. Just good coordinated play, but not overly aggressive. I feel like they didn't engage with 2 or 3. They waited until they were ready to go in together. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they worry too much about capturing the camp and not enough about killing the team, which is really the point. Like, you can give up the camp if you get the kills. You can clear the camp really easily, but they were able to, of course, get both of those. They were able to get the best of both worlds on those situations, but just a lot of really solid macro play and a lot of good team synergy during that series from Lizard Wizards, for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things to see was play into the Stukov. How you start to gain ideas of how you could possibly counter it, and you saw some things there that kind of work. I mean, Stukov's heals are all based off of you being together, essentially passing the pathogens on. And it's when you've got a task wall that's splitting a team, when you've got a Diablo diving someone out, when you've got a Sonya who's going whirlwind build, who's like, okay, I dare you to clump up. That sounds great to me. It kind of all makes a Stukov-driven composition difficult to run unless you have, exceptional synergy in how you do it, and in that you kind of pop in and out of being within range at right moments kind of thing. Because the last thing you want to be with this comp is clumped, but then at the same time you can't get together anyway with, how they kind of had this, just team disruption going on.
Absolutely. So that is going to do it for us tonight. We only had one match on the slate tonight, but what a match it was. Congratulations to Lizard Wizards for picking up the big win here in week 1. And Kyle, thank you for joining me. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, just thank you for having me. It was kind of fun. I hadn't cast before tonight. I did a cast earlier of
yeah, we don't need to talk about that. That's
it might have been covering Jason's team.
May or may not have been a slaughter, but
but it was fun. I've been enjoying it, so thank you for bringing me on to do this.
Absolutely, and of course, Kyle being super modest, but you can always go check him out on his stream, RK_the Pie Maker. A lot of good content rolling out from Reborn Knights lately, and I might be a little biased since I'm on the other half of that, but you guys can always come check us out at RK Red. Going to be streaming here on this channel quite often, and we'll be back to cast more Chair League throughout the season as well. Thank you for joining us, guys, and have a good night.